Welcome to Scoop Rotor. Wow, Spygate 2.0, Connor Stallions edition. The Bucks are rolling. The Wolverines are going to be crying. We got a lot of great intel that's coming in today. A lot of counter intel that's coming in today. A lot of crazy that's coming in today. The Bucks are 7-0. They're heading to Camp Randall to face a depleted Wisconsin Badger team. So we're going to get into that. A little bit of film, a little bit of your questions, as always. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, we've had monster shows the last few nights. Thank you so much for supporting the show, taking care of the show. If you enjoy the show, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. And I want your comments on this Michigan situation. Big thing, little thing. You don't care. You kind of care. Everybody does it. Nobody does it. Death penalty, no penalty. I want to hear your judicial review on this thing. I think it's going to be shocking when all this all comes up because there's a lot coming up. Pete Thamel is bringing the wood. I'm going to get right into it with our own Connor Nevada Buck Stallions. Mr. Stallions, how are you tonight? And have you bought any tickets for this weekend's games?
Well, it's so funny. When this first thing broke, I honestly didn't think there was a whole lot to it, to be honest with you. And now, after I've dove a little deeper, this is a big deal, man. This is a big deal.
Oh,
Michigan's gonna go down on this one, man. Michigan's gonna go down. I'm not sure if Harbaugh hasn't coached his last game at Michigan. I think that it's about to come down, and it's about to come down hard. I mean, what they were doing, obviously, was this guy came up with the idea of, hey, what if I buy tickets to the opponents and I go there and I film their signals, and then I put it into a program and figure out what their signals correspond to in terms of plays, and then I can read that, and then when I come to games, I can stand behind you and read their signals and figure out what signaling they're using and tap you on the shoulder and let you know what's coming. And it seems pretty obvious that, we always it's always been kind of weird that Michigan all of a sudden got good. They're recruiting.
They got really good. They got really good.
Yeah, really good, really fast. And it was with the same crappy recruits, you know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden it's like, how did they get so much better? And now we know. I mean, now we know. They've been 26-6 against the spread. There's the thing. And this thing is totally Vegas is the one who blew the whistle on this, because when stuff, people don't realize, legalized gambling. The good thing about legalized gambling is it takes it out of the shadows and it exposes everything in the analytics.
Yes.
And when stuff starts breaking out of patterns, then Vegas is like, what is going on? And this one's bad. I'm telling you, this one's bad for Michigan. This was bad. They were cheating. They got caught. And I think it's gonna be bad. I think it's gonna be really bad. It's not gonna be a slap on the wrist. It's gonna be bad. I'm just telling you.
Oh, dude, this is like in Casino where the dude's the two guys are playing cards, and the one guy's banging his knee with his finger, and the other guy's looking at the cards. The guy's hitting the knee with the little trigger in there. And then they take him in the back and they say, "Well, hands is good cheating hand." And that's his right hand. They take the ball pin hammer, bam, bam, bam. That's what this is like. I'm like, these guys literally, because again, if you go and film signals for an entire game, you could go back to the building and you could get all the Ohio State film or the Penn State film or whoever signals you got, get every play. You can splice every play with every signal, and you could sit there for, in about an hour, you could pick off every single coverage, front, play, formation. It's just not hard. Once you have the signals and you splice it with the stuff, I mean, anybody can do that. So, I mean, if teams are changing the signals again, when you're at home, when Ohio State's at home, they assume nobody's getting their signals because they had the little dudes holding the poster boards up, and they got Justin Fry and Mike Salini doing their little signals the whole time. And I can see them because I'm sitting there. But if you're on the home or the visitor side and you're videoing it, you can get everything and you can break it all down and say, hey, this is a formation. This is a play. This is a signal for the run they're doing. Justin Fry's the live, because they usually have three signals. You have two guys that are dummies, and you have one guy who's live. And usually the live guy is whoever's the most senior guy. So if there's a defensive coordinator who's signaling, he's the live guy. It's not the GA. It's not the intern. It's not the water boy who's in the blue shirt. It's the guy who's the most senior guy. Because Luke Fickell, if he's the DC, is not going to let some junior intern be the guy who's doing the signaling for the Michigan game. I promise you. So there's an ego trip there. They want to make sure their guys get the signals. So the rest of it's all window dressing. And, Connor Stallions is trying to figure out a way to make his name in coaching and go up the ladder. And magically, like you said, Michigan got really, really good in like 3 years with the same 3 and 4 star turds that they've always had. And magically, like, wow, they're really good. Wow, they can beat us. Wow, it's almost like they know where we're running the ball. Wow, it's like they know where we're throwing the ball. Wow, they know everything we're doing. This is amazing. They must be really, really good. Or they're stealing and they're cheating. And again, God bless Las Vegas and God bless gamblers, because those guys, when they smell something like this, and there's people and there's millions, if not billions, involved in legal gambling now, that stuff gets sniffed out. And there's a lot of people that maybe like Michigan, don't like Michigan, that caught onto this thing. And magically, when there was word of this, all these schools banded together. They went through this, there's talk, they went through the security camera in the stadiums, which I guess could scan literally every seat in the stadium. And they found this guy, and he's sitting there holding his little iPhone. And he's like holding it the whole game, and nobody else does that. So they're like, oh, this is the guy. Oh, this is him. Oh, for the best thing ever is that for the Ohio State Penn State game, there were like opposing wide open pairs of seats on opposite sides of the field that were vacant that he allegedly purchased because he left a paper trail. Nevada, like I've heard of like dumb things, but this reminds me of Goldfinger from the Goldfinger movie, with James Bond, where he's like playing cards, and then all of a sudden, James Bond's looking down the thing, and he says, "Now here, this gold member," and like the chick is reading his hand, and then all of a sudden he stops reading it, and he starts losing. Like, this is what this reminds me of. How does this affect Michigan for the rest of the season? And we're going to do our top 5 reasons why we're going to beat Michigan this year. This is probably going to be number 1, the Connor Stallions thing. But how does this affect Michigan the rest of the year going forward?
Well, what people have to remember, let's kind of break down sign stealing 101 and things. Because first of all, you got to remember, these signs are being, you got to come up with signs that can communicate to the average intelligence college football player inside of 5 or
very
10
low.
seconds,
Yes.
5 or 10 seconds, what the play is, what they're supposed to do. So you don't have time for like the Enigma machine where you're putting it in there and you're running it through the thing with 7 wheels, all wheel and stuff like you got to come up with something like Blue Teletubby Tinky Winky is holding up a card that's got Aaron Andrews on it, and that means sweep right. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, like, this is what we're talking about. So if you can, get the signs from previous games, and like you said, you can use AI, you can just use your common sense in terms of putting it together, and then even when you change the signals, you can pretty much, when you've seen enough games and seen enough about what they do with their signaling, when you're in a real game situation, even if they change their signs, that information of what they've done in the past will make it very easy to crack. And that's why they're always better in the second half than the first half. First half, probably because people have changed the signs, they're figuring it out. By the second half, they got it figured out. And lo and behold, they hold the Ohio State offense with Garrett Wilson or with C.J. Stroud and just Marvin Harrison and to 3 points in the second half, and you're like, wow, man, it's almost like they knew the plays. It's like, that's because they knew the plays. But that's kind of the whole thing about the code breaking. I don't even remember the question. I'm just so this makes me so happy because I hate Michigan so much. I have to legitimately say to you, I really hate Michigan, and I hate I hate to use the word hate because you're like, why do you hate them? You shouldn't. It's just football. No, I really despise I despise our fan base. I despise everything about them, and I only want bad things to happen to them. And if that makes me a bad person, then so be it.
Well, I just think their fans are complete pretentious douchebags. I've met a lot of them. I know how they are. I know how they were in the 90s. It was nice to whip them for 20 years. These last 2 years have sucked, but their fans are just total douchebags. And of course now, they're always self-righteous and, our diploma's worth more and our business school's worth more. And I'm like, well, yeah, you guys had to cheat to beat us. That's the only reason you have any say in the matter, because we've owned you guys for I don't know, 20 years now since
Well, well, well,
2001.
well, think about the biggest cheating. When you're talking about legitimately the biggest cheating scandals in the history of college sports, you're probably talking about the Fab Five. It's
Yep.
probably one, and then
Yep.
this is probably right there. So Michigan, the holier than thou, this our, yeah, you're right. Our kinesiology degree means more than your general studies. They're just cheaters. And again, it all makes sense when you step back and you look at it and you kind of go, wow. How did J.J. McCarthy become the front leader for the Heisman, and how did their defense just become like the '85 Bears all of a sudden? It's like, well, because they know what plays are coming and they're
And
cheating.
how did Jim Harbaugh become the front runner for Coach of the Year when he was getting ran by his alma mater? I mean, they were throwing him out with the bathwater when Urban left, and all of a sudden, and Ryan beats them in 19, 20, they don't play us. Then 21-22, they come back and they're like, they're the greatest football team of all time, and they just wax us up there and down here. And I'm just like, that's funny. Those are all the same players that we whooped in 19, and we would have destroyed them in 20 because they were terrible during the pandemic year. And then in 21, magically they have our number and they wax us. And then last year they waxed us. And it's funny because like last year, it was very interesting because when we played them last year at halftime, we were dominating them. Then in the second half, magically they came out and they dominated us, and it wasn't close. So I don't know. It stinks, and if it walks like a skunk and it smells like a skunk, it's probably a skunk. So the top 5 reasons why Ohio State is going to beat Michigan this year. Obviously, number 1 is they're not going to have their little homeboy GI Joe filming signals and giving the Morse code to Jim Harbaugh. So he's number 1. Nevada, what's number 2? What is the number 2 reason why we are going to beat Michigan this year?
A great OSU defense. This is a terrific defense, and it's risen to the occasion every time. Yeah, I mean, it's solid up front. It's solid at the linebackers. Obviously, the defensive secondary and the safeties are terrific. But a great OSU defense is going to find a way to get enough stops. And like you said, Michigan isn't going to have been cheating and stealing our signals and knowing what plays are coming. And it's going to make it a little bit easier on an OSU offense when Michigan isn't cheating as much for us to move the ball and get enough score. So my reason's the OSU defense.
Yeah, reason 3 for me is Ryan Day and the coaching staff. I think that they probably had some sense that this was going on, but now that it's been laid out, they can scramble everything. They can use wristbands. They can do a multitude of things to kind of hide their tracks when they're calling plays, bringing plays in offensively and defensively. And I think that makes it much harder to go against. When someone is cheating or card counting or whatever you want to call it, when you can hide all that, then you do it. And you take the extra measures, you change your signals, you change your wristbands, you do whatever it has. I mean, Jim Tressel famously didn't trust Michigan, so we would change our wristbands at halftime. Every single time we played them, he was convinced that they had people stealing signals. And again, this wasn't like some hyperbole. This happened every time we played Michigan. And that was the only team we did it against. We didn't do it against Penn State or anybody else. We played Michigan at halftime. We'd go in the locker room, and every skill guy had to, as they're walking in, had to throw their wristbands into the big bag as they walked in. Give me your wristband. And then the little interns and GAs would be running around handing out the new wristbands to make sure that nobody had a first half wristband for the second half of the game, so that everything would be scrambled up. They wouldn't have any read on anything. And again, we only did that against Michigan. So Truss, who a lot of people think is this old wise owl, Mr. Rogers, he was slicker than the average. And I think that he had a little connotation that this is what these guys were into. Obviously, Woody was famously paranoid about what those guys did. But I think Ryan Day being clued into what's going on is reason number 3. What is your reason number 4, Nevada?
Well, before I get into that, I just wanted to say, think about this caper, okay? You've got this $55,000 a year Naval Academy grad that's buying tickets all over the place, which is expensive. As a person who gets into the ticket business, man, that's not cheap to do. And then he's hiring stringers to go film the games, and then they've got to go get the information, accumulate all the information, like you said, match it up to the game tape, do the thing, and then provide this information in some way or shape or form to Michigan. And there's a paper trail on this one. And and like you said, you could do facial recognition. You can scan the seats to see who's doing it. And I guarantee they're combing back to these games, and they're seeing all these little Michigan trolls out there filming the signals. And it's all going to be, and before people are like, well, Jim Harbaugh didn't know. It's irrelevant whether he had direct knowledge about it or not. Even though the fact that Jim Harbaugh's kid, his oldest son, is like Venmo buddies with this guy, which, boy, that sure seems coincidental to me.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether he knew it. They don't have to prove that. He's responsible for it. And given the fact that they've already got an NCAA investigation pending on this, I mean, this could go really bad. I mean, this could go really bad for them. But I digress. Reason number 4 is Marvin Harrison. They don't have anybody like Marvin Harrison or Marvin Harrison Superman. Marvin Harrison should win the Heisman. If the Heisman Trophy is given to the best college football player, it should be Marvin Harrison. It shouldn't even be close. And if Ohio State Sports Information Department would get their head out of their behinds, they would take on the screaming Gus Johnson Maserati Marv thing and put him in a Maserati and do the thing and run that thing out there. They've got to get behind it in terms of doing it, but he should be the Heisman Trophy winner. This year's wide open. I mean, before this weekend, it was Michael Penix was the betting favorite.
Oh my God.
Penix was the betting favorite to be the Heisman Trophy winner. You're telling me Michael Penix is better than Marvin Harrison Jr.? You got to be kidding me. So let's get behind Marvin Harrison to win the Heisman, but he's my number 4 reason why Ohio State wins.
I agree. Gabriel Carter, super chat. Appreciate you, brother. Offensive lineup played well on Saturday. Some of those holes were open. Would have allowed home run handy. I like that nickname. 2 breaks, some long ones. Happy belated birthday, Nevada. OSU gave us a great birthday gift on Saturday. Appreciate you, brother, as always. No, I again, like Marvin Harrison Jr. was not a unanimous midseason All-American, which is completely insane when you look at his statistics at the halfway point and what he's meant to a team that's in the top 5 and a new quarterback and blah, 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 whatever, and double coverage and all the stuff he has to deal with and how he's still productive because we don't promote him. He didn't win the Blitnikoff, a guy who's a third round pick, I think, to the Giants, or 4th round pick. Jalen Hyatt won it last year. And he didn't even get unanimous midseason All-American, which is completely insane to me, given how valuable he is to our team. And I agree. I don't think they have anybody that can check Marvin. I think Marvin's on a mission. I think that he's got the team on his back right now with Emeka and Trey out. He's like the one Mohican left who's still just doing the thing, and nobody can really check him. And he's a different cat. He reminds me so much of Larry Fitzgerald, just based on how he carries himself, his ability, and how he's just so clearly the best player in the country. And if we promote him, probably win the Heisman. But since we don't, and our sports information director probably doesn't know what a Maserati is. A Maserati is a really nice car, just so you know. Why don't you promote that? Why don't you do something to let these voters know, hey, this guy's the best player in the country. It's not Michael Penix, who, Michael Penix will benefit from the fact that they played and their game ended at 2:30 in the morning this past Saturday. I stayed up and watched against Arizona State, who's 1-6. And the only reason they beat Arizona State is because Arizona State's quarterback threw the worst pick 6 I've ever seen in my life, and Washington ran it back. It was because of anything Michael Penix did. He was terrible versus a god-awful team. So, but my final reason as to why we beat Michigan, I just think that, this O-line is coming together. I think and people are going to roll their eyes and stuff, but I think that this line is coming together. I don't think Michigan is as good as they were last year. I know everybody's looking at the gaudy stats and everything that these guys have done. They've been stealing signs all year, but they don't have Mozzie Smith. 2 years ago, they had Aiden Hutchinson. I think these guys are due. I don't think the talent, they don't have the talent they've had up front the last couple of years. They're still very good. They still have got McGregor, and they've got Chris Jenkins' kid and all that. But, we're more of a throw-first outfit. I don't think we're going to try to run it down the throats of a good defensive front. And we can throw out some back 7 guys that are susceptible to the pass. And I think that, as Cardinal Tate keeps growing, Mecca comes back, Marvin comes back, I think that Ryan Day is realizing, as Nevada Buck said, that we are a throw-first outfit. And we need to throw on these guys. Throw early. Don't be scared of the cold. Wear long sleeves. Eat your Wheaties. Drink some hot cocoa. Whatever it takes you to not be scared of the cold, do it. And I think that that's going to be the thing that's going to carry us. Nevada, Any final thoughts as we go through our top five Michigan things? And how does this end for Michigan? Like, this is a dramatic, for the pretentious dildos that are Michigan fans. This is a pretty rough go. The fact that they've been busted for cheating. There's no such thing as a paper ticket anymore in modern football. So there's going to be a large paper trail. There's surveillance. Every time this guy checks into a game or someone uses a scanner to check in with his ticket, they're going to get a video capture of that guy's face, security cameras. How deep is this going to go? How bad is it going to be? And what is the final outcome penalty-wise? What is your prediction, Mr. Nevada Buck?
Well, I think it'll be the end of Harbaugh's tenure at Michigan. I think there's I know that there's a large faction of people up in Michigan, higher ups, that hate him, that are looking for a reason to get rid of him. And Harbaugh's looking for a reason to bolt the NFL anyway. So I think they're going to drop the hammer on him from that standpoint. Depending on how deep the paper trail is, will depend on how they'll certainly vacate wins going backwards. It's just a question of how bad the hammer is going to fall going forward. But I think this could be really bad. But let me say, I'm going to make one other prediction, because I always believe in the world. I always, say, when you have negative energy, you have positive energy. I always look for, okay, what's the other side of this? If all this press is coming down on Michigan and what's going to happen, what'll happen on the other side of this? Well, my prediction is now you look for the crappy anti-Ohio State writers to come out with some anti-Ohio State story. So I'd say McMurphy, look for McMurphy to come out with some crappy story about Ohio State now, because that's the way the world works. When something's going hard on Michigan, what the flip side of that's going to be, Brett McMurphy will come out with some sort of hit piece. So that'll be Nevada Buck's prediction, is that'll be the next thing that falls. We'll see if I'm right, but I think that's generally that's the state of journalism in 2023. Something bad happening this way, somebody's going to try to distract an old man once said to me, he goes, don't hide the cheese, Nevada. And in this case, McMurphy's going to try to hide the cheese and come in on Ohio State. That's my prediction.
Did Parcells say that to you while you guys are watching horse races in Saratoga? Is that where you guys learned that don't hide the cheese? That's amazing.
He did say that to me.
Sean Payton, when you guys were drinking wine in the vineyards of Denver.
Were.
I think that's it's wise, because I think that. Do you think the instant rebuttal from Michigan is that, well, Ohio State does it and Georgia does it and everyone does it, and we're just the only ones that they've found, but this is a widespread network of secrecy. Do you think that's going to be their defense?
It's the only defense. That's the only everybody does it is going to be the only defense that they possibly have on this one, because they got them dead nuts on this. And when you read the guy's LinkedIn profile and he's like identifying other teams' vulnerabilities,
oh my God.
And rest of it, it's like, I said, why don't you just put up a billboard that goes, "I steal the signs of the opposing team"? It's just nobody will get what this really means. I identify the vulnerabilities and the critical paths to success. It's like, I wonder what that means. Good code breaking there, old Connor Stalions, old good boy.
I mean, I identify that Justin Fry wears a lime green shirt and he does the hula dance to signal go fast.
He's Tinky Winky.
Yeah, he is. He's Tinky Winky. He's in the Tinky Winky Teletubby outfit, and it's like he does the hula dance, and he does the jet signal, and then he does he does this, and that means after, I don't know, a 30-minute injury timeout that we have illegal substitution immediately after that. That honestly was my favorite play of the game on Saturday, because as soon as we had Chop Robinson he got knocked into the shadow realm by Matt Jones. He knocked him out cold, and he had to lay there for 30 minutes before we could figure out that he's out cold and we could put him on the golf cart and get him off the field so we could continue the game. As soon as we continue the game, these guys come out on the field and they have the wrong personnel in, and then they have to sub, and the official pulls the flag out. It's the most pathetic. He throws it right in front of him, about an inch, and that's the best part about being actually at the game, is you could just look down and find Ryan Day, and Ryan Day's head is dark, he's as red as the elf from the Frosty the Snowman claymation thing. That's how red his face is as he's screaming at Brian Hartline, because we just had 30 minutes and 4 TV timeouts where they're peeling Chop Robinson off the turf to figure out our personnel, and we still screwed it up. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, Holy cow, this is really bad. Any final thoughts, Nevada? Wrap this thing up.
Well, that's why Brian Hartline's on the sideline and not up in the box, man. You need that kind of direction coming there from the sideline.
Oh,
like,
my
let me
God.
see. It's like, wait a second. Xavier, get out there. Oh, no. Xavier, get back in here. Oh, no. Penalty.
I was dying, man. All right, I gotta wrap this. This is Monday Night Football time. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Except for you Michigan fans, you guys can go fly a kite because you guys are a bunch of cheaters. If you enjoyed this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert button. You'll get an alert every time we go live. If you hate Michigan, give us a double like and comment. Why do you hate Michigan? And also comment where you guys watching from. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Thank you so much. We're about to jump on BucketScoop.com. Monday Night Football is about to kick off. So we're on a big thread on that. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.